Peace and respect to you all. Welcome to Demolished Doctrine, the beginning of the end of religions. And unfortunately, we're minus a Steve, but Steve has odd sleep schedules. But we do have Mac today. I was thinking if Mac couldn't make it, I would just do a reading of the Coherent Bible. But fortunately for you guys, you don't have to be that bored. Mac has shown up. His schedule allowed it this week. So thank you much for showing up, Mac. I appreciate you very much. Peace and respect.
To be here.
I'm very happy you can be here. Truly, I'm not very good at talking to myself or speaking to people who aren't standing there right in front of me. Never felt comfortable doing that.
Right.
I always feel like it's some kind of role playing or something, like I'm an actor and it's not genuine.
Yeah.
So we thought before the show, what would we talk about this week? Peace and respect, Moon Medi. Also, Krishna in the side chat. So there is a repeating theme in not just Christianity, but including Christianity, the idea of a walled city. And there's actually much to say about what is a walled city. Would you, Mac? I know you're already looking stuff up, aren't you?
Yeah. I'm already. Well, I wanted to check out the. Just start with the word city, but then it jumped right to what were the cities of refuge in the Old Testament. Would that be a good qualifier for walled cities? Cities of refuge.
Yes, that's the general overarching topic.
Right on. So, let's see. We've got only one tribe, the Levites, was not given land to develop. They could carry and set up the tabernacle. Okay, here we go. The cities were Kadesh, Shechem, Hebron, Bezer, Ramoth, and Golan. And Golan was the Joshua 20, 7-8 that I think Steve was referring to. Oh, no, he was on Judges.
I'm not sure his topic was going to be walled cities. In fact, I don't know what he wanted to talk about within Judges 19, but we'll save that for him.
Okay. Yeah, perfect. So, but Jericho is the big one, the big walled city.
That's the one everyone knows, yeah.
Yeah. So,
would you bring up Jericho for us?
Yeah. It's Joshua 20:7-8.
Should I bring it up or are you? Yeah, let's share it.
Yeah.
So I think it's actually, while you're finding that, I'm just going to rattle on a bit. I think it's actually very interesting what perspective we look at this text from. For instance, if I look at this perspective, if I look at this text as from the perspective of a modern American male, and I say something like, well, in the ancient Near East, it was very war-torn. It makes sense that they built walls around the cities, and that is true of the ancient Near East. But some of the descriptions of some of these cities and the walls surrounding them doesn't make sense in reality. Peace and respect, William. So I don't think it's talking about literal cities. I would give an example while Mac is bringing that up. When I use the word Galilee, Galilee actually means a walled city with rotating gates. Now, I don't know how you'd pull that off mechanically in those years without like hydraulics and electric motors and a lot of other problems. Load bearings, ball bearings, lots of stuff. But then when I consider that Bethlehem is one of the places that are referred to in reference to this walled city, it makes good sense to me. Where Bethlehem means house of bread and walled city of rotating gates means the zodiac. Well, now we're talking about one specific position within the zodiac, and all of a sudden, Viola, the story makes sense. Okay, so here we are at Joshua 20:7. And do you have a preference from within these selections of Bibles?
King James is fine.
So let's go down to see. There's Galilee. I wish I could have looked up all of these words. I know that Naphtali is one of the tribes. Galilee, rotating gates, Kadesh. I don't know what the word Kadesh means. I looked up Hebron at one point, and now it has escaped my memory. So I've only looked it up one time, and I need it like 27 times.
So that's the 6 cities of refuge, and then there's the 48 cities of the Levites.
Mm-hmm.
Libnah, Esthemoa, Holon, all with the suburbs.
Right.
Well, what are these?
I think that these walled cities, first of all, is a very repetitive story, and it's actually talking about different situations that are going to occur during the second half of end times. That's what it's really speaking to.
Okay.
And talking about different ways that the morally correct way to handle all of these different situations that are going to occur, and going to occur just because what human nature is and the situation that the angels have caused onto this earth. This is what people will do. Like you've heard it said, birds of a feather flock together. Of course, there's a city of nothing but giants. That is, the Nephilim people will gather together, figuring they'd be strongest together. And in a time when there's no government, no infrastructure, things like this, people definitely will form groups. That makes perfect sense to me. And they'll likely form small groups of, say, something manageable, something, say, perhaps between 5,000 and 10,000 people.
Right.
So that all makes pretty good sense to me. And after the first resurrection, the total populace of the earth gathered to one place, having either failed judgment or refused heaven, would explain why in all of these cases you only find hedonistic people. You never find a story in the Bible where somebody had the right God, had the right idea. Even if even if you're talking about the New Testament, there's never that story, because everyone that you can come in contact with either misunderstands God or rejects the true living God out of hand. So it's impossible for someone to have it right, or else they would have been elevated to heaven.
Gotcha.
So in that context, and this is really interesting and gets into some depth. Peace and respect, Jamie Russell. It's the description of Leviathan, which is a bit brief, I find. But Leviathan in the book of Revelation is called I want to get the words right, and I'm probably going to get them lightly wrong. You'll please forgive me. The avenger of wrongful death. That might be correct. And the avenger of wrongful death chases after people and kills them if they've killed another, even if they've killed another by accident. So you find all these stories in the Old Testament where a person is running to a walled city, a city of refuge, right? And they pound their fist on the gate and beg to come in. And that makes perfect sense if you were aware that a several ton snake was after you to eat you.
Yeah.
You'd be really banging on that gate. Like, no joke, you'd be banging on that gate. So they're let in the walled city and they're judged. They plead their case. Well, I find that very interesting because an animal that is big enough and its scales thick enough and hard enough and tight enough together that you can't pry them apart, that a spear or an arrow will do nothing. And yeah, I think that includes AK-47s, would just do nothing to this animal. Would easily be able to go over or crash through a wall that a man could build.
Sure.
If it's heavy enough that it goes along the ground, forcing rocks into the ground and leaving the whole area shiny, that's a tough critter. That's a big, heavy, tough critter. So it seems to me that it's kind of stupid. It must be kind of stupid because it apparently, if it sees a wall that it looks solid, it doesn't try it. And I found that was actually true of a lot of animals. If you've ever lived on a farm, that's true of farm animals.
Right.
If they can't see a chink in the armor, they won't even try the armor.
Right.
Which is really interesting, typical of lower intelligence animals.
Right.
Okay, so it's after them. They run to the walled city, and they are then put before a tribunal of some kind or a judgment of some kind, and they decide if they get to stay or if they're kicked out of the city. If they're kicked out of the city, well, you know what's waiting outside.
Right.
So, yeah. And all of this to encourage people to not kill each other in a very, very tense time when they would naturally be inclined to do so.
Sure.
Like, how's that for some encouragement? You reckon that'll change people's minds. And be careful not to kill each other. Think twice about it once they learn about Leviathan.
Right.
Okay, so that's one kind of walled city. There is a second reference by my reading frame of what walled city means. And the walled city is secluded, right? And it's secluded from the point of view of the authorship of the Bible. Not secluded from us here. That wouldn't even make sense. Okay?
Okay.
And that it has these revolving gates around it. And one of the gates is House of Bread or Virgo or Bethlehem, depending on your language, your background. So from a bigger point of view, from a point of view of authorship of the Bible, if I said there was this secluded area and the waves and the seas could not escape their boundary, O proud waters, thou shalt come to the shore and no further, I take that back to the definition of waters and or us on this earth, that we will only get to a little bit of space exploration and we're not going to go and discover other planets. We're never going to get there. It's not going to be allowed that we do that on our own. So from that perspective and keeping those kinds of ideas in mind, I think the walled city, the separated city, the great city, that city that is lost, I think it's actually the whole planet, all of the Garden of Eden. That's what I think is being referred to there. So in those kinds of ideas of a walled city on a grander scale, on like a solar system scale, makes sense for those verses. And then when it talks about walled cities that are individualistic and for protection, like the ones that you run to, because the avenger of wrongful death is after you, I think that's a literal walled city within the earth. And those are the distinctions that I make. And these, of course, all of it's tied together. It's interesting to me on the larger scale idea of a walled city that if you would go back, if you still have it available, or we could find it, or I'll bring it up again if you don't want to. Bring back up Jericho.
Okay.
because Jericho is a super important story. I mean, we read the story and we go, wow, that sounds really impressive. Why is it special? I think I can point out why it's special.
All right. Let's go here. Richard, William Freeman's getting some speaker noise. You think that's from my new headphones? Possibly. I'm not sure.
I'm hearing background noise whenever you don't speak. I think you have a auto volume control in that setup, and it's picking out background hum whenever you don't speak.
I see.
It keeps searching for you to speak, and when you're not speaking, it amplifies everything around you. I don't know. I don't think it's that bad.
Okay.
It's not deafening or anything.
Okay, good. Okay. So here's Joshua 2. When Joshua the son of Nun sent out of Shittim 2 men to spy secretly, saying, "Go view the land, even Jericho."
Let's stop right there. There's a lot of information. I know that looks like 1 line or 2 lines.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
If you look into the word Joshua, would you happen to know what this word Joshua means?
No.
Does it look familiar? Because
yeah,
if you want to look it up, go ahead.
It's the same word as Jesus.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. It literally means Jesus.
One?
Yeah.
All right.
It's precisely the same name.
Okay.
It comes out as Jesus, Iesus, and Joshua, and Yeshua, depending on which language you're talking about.
Right.
Joshua, of course, is actually the English form.
Okay.
Okay. Iesus, the Greek. Yeshua, the Hebrew. You get the idea. Okay.
Sure.
So, but it's exactly the same word. And then when we look at it, it says the son of Nun, which is not, I'm not playing with words. It doesn't mean none like the son of nobody.
Right.
Like having no mother, no father, no lineage, all those kinds of ideas. It just doesn't mean that. Would you want to look up? Yeah, that. Go ahead.
I'm on it. Pronunciation noon. Fish. I think I knew that. I think it's 1 letter, isn't it? 1 Hebrew letter.
It looks like on your screen.
Maybe it's
1,
2.
2, 3 letters. It's 3 letters.
Okay.
And would you look into the etymology of it? The base word behind fish?
Yep.
Okay, so this is all the way back to its primitive root. And what does it mean?
Continue to increase and propagate.
Right.
So the child or the son of that which propagates.
Like a fish.
Like a fish. Yeah.
Yeah. So the fish is named for its ability to create posterity or children. And you'll notice that Jesus has 3 brothers. Doesn't mention how many sisters he has, though. Okay, so he comes from kind of a big family, probably. Something like that. And then his mom is called propagates like a fish.
Right.
or dad. This could mean dad, because you can't tell if this is male or female. None. Can't really tell.
Okay.
And 2 men are sent out to spy secretly. Okay. And in some of the stories, these 2 are angels. In some, they're spies. But there's always 2. You'll never find 3, and you'll never find 1. Not 1 time ever. Won't happen. When they go to check out the city of Ai, 2 spies are sent, etc., etc. It's always 2 spies. Okay.
Interesting.
I take this as being not a buddy program, but it's talking about the dichotomous one, the man god, which they just said is Joshua. Right? So I take this to mean that actually this is only talking about 1 character, and it's talking about Jesus, and that he's got some siblings, and he goes to Jericho to check it out. Okay, now Jericho is one of these famous walled cities, and where did he go? He came in. Where did they go? Into a harlot's house, a harlot named Rahab. You want to look up that word Rahab?
Better look that up. Yep. Let's look up Rahab.
I'm going to assert now that none means dad because we're about to go into mom.
Okay, cool.
And the etymology, just so we're doing it in the right order, base idea first, definition later, more defined idea later. Ooh, you got a second one.
Yeah.
That happens sometimes.
I don't know what to say about broad if we're talking about women. To be or to grow wide, be or grow large.
Well, slow down a little bit. Okay, you see that it says KJV translation count, right?
Sure.
About center of your screen there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's a count of how many times they used it and how they used it, right? And then you go below that, and it's usages, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, all of that, the count and the usages, is post-translation. Has nothing to do with the actual word necessarily. I mean, it necessarily has nothing to do with the actual word, but
right.
That's the way they thought it should be read into English. So go down below that and you'll find the actual definition.
Got it. So to make room, to make open, to broaden.
Mm-hmm. So I'll say this time the translation was pretty good.
Yeah. Rakab.
Either intransitive or transitive, literal or figurative, to be or make large, to enlarge, to make room, to make open, to make wide.
Right.
Okay, so it's not the idea of getting fat.
Right. It's
more like the idea of clearing things out.
Oh, okay. Making room. Yeah. Okay.
Like if you cut down a bunch of trees to make a pasture.
Sure. Okay.
You see?
Yeah.
So you're clearing out, you're making space. You're not becoming larger. Not the same thing.
Got it.
They have a word that means become larger.
Right.
Okay, now let's back arrow and find the extended word to be wide.
Oh, too far.
Yeah, one too many.
Large, broad, proud, wide.
Right on.
Liberty.
You can see the definition. We can't. No, there's the definition. Okay.
Proud
okay, cool.
and wide. Yeah. Proud like, when you're measuring something, probably. That kind of proud. Yeah. Like a little bit out. Yeah.
Like overly large.
Right.
Liberously large.
Right.
Okay, cool. And let's go back to the story.
All right. And they lodged there. So Jesus, who is the they, lodged in this walled city.
Lodged with Rahab.
And lodged with Rahab, who is the expanse, who is the clearing.
I'm going to say more like the one who makes a clearing.
The one who makes a clearing.
Not the clearing itself. It's not. She's not the clearing.
Okay.
So she provides roominess. So you've got none, who is apparently like a rabbit,
right?
And you've got one making room. And what's the next few lines right there?
It says, and it was told the king of Jericho, saying, behold, there came men in hither tonight of the children of Israel to search out the country.
Okay, so children of Israel definitionally has to be a believer in the correct God.
Right.
Okay, so not casual anybody's. That's about all there is right there.
Well, it was told to the king of Jericho.
Right.
Whoever that is.
Well, what do you make of the king of Jericho?
I mean, the king of the world would be a a worldly entity.
Right. Sure.
Not necessarily a bad guy, but definitely not Jesus. Not yet, anyway.
Right. Yeah, Jesus has not taken over the area of Jericho.
Right.
That is, the prophet Joshua has not won the day.
Right.
But he will.
Right. Right. So I guess is it the Antichrist or is it Satan?
That's what I think. I think it's the Antichrist and or Satan. Something like that, yeah.
And he gets a warning about this. He gets a warning about this man who comes hither to the children of Israel. Okay. And the king of Jericho sent unto Rahab, saying, Bring forth the men that have come to thee, which are entered into thine house, for they be come to search out all the country.
Right.
So he's like, all right.
I find that search out all the country, 2 dudes.
Right.
Like, how many years would that take if it was literal?
Yeah. If we're talking about the whole planet.
Or even if you were just talking about a little spot on the ancient Near East, it wouldn't be practical to send only 2 guys.
True. Very true.
So it wouldn't to search out 2 guys to search out an entire kingdom and figure out what's going on there. That wouldn't make sense in a historical context. Okay, so let's read the part where she hides them.
Yep.
And then how she releases them.
Okay. So she took them and hid them, and she said, There came men unto me, but I wist not whence they were. So that means I wasn't where they were.
No, it means I wasn't aware of where they come from.
Oh, I wasn't aware. I wist not. I wasn't wise about.
That's right. I didn't have wisdom as to
whence.
Yeah.
Right. All right. And it came to pass about the time of shutting the gate, when it was dark, that the men went out. Whither the men I wot not. Pursue after them quickly, for ye shall overtake them.
She lied. She outright lied. Moving on.
The gate. But she had brought them up to the roof of the house. That's where they actually were, and hid them with the stalks of flax, which she had laid in order upon the roof. And the men pursued after them the way to Jordan unto the fords, and soon as they which pursued after them were gone out, they shut the gate.
Right on.
And before they were laid down, she came up unto them upon the roof, and she said unto the men, I know that the Lord hath given you the land, and that your terror is fallen upon us, and that all the inhabitants of the land faint because of you.
So to me, this makes her a believer.
Right. She's just kind of revealing.
She's aware of the prophecy.
Right. And for we have heard how the Lord had dried up the water of the Red Sea for you. We've heard this prophecy. When ye came out of Egypt, and what ye did unto the 2 kings of the Amorites that were on the other side of Jordan, Sihon and Og, whom ye utterly destroyed. And as soon as we heard these things, our hearts did melt. Neither did there remain any more courage in any man because of you. For the Lord your God, he is God in heaven above and in earth beneath.
I will put any amount of money. I will sell all my tools right now, which is pretty extensive, and give cash if I'm wrong about what that word heard right there means. If you want to look that up, that's going to be understood, like cognitively fully understood a thing. It's not going to be just heard about it like a rumor.
And as soon as we had heard these things, like really understood these things, is what you're saying that means.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to take that bet. I don't know. But I will definitely pursue that. Our hearts did melt. That is very tender phrasing. That's very beautiful. So that itself is Sama, and it's a primitive root itself. And here's Strong's. To hear intelligently, there it is. Often with implication of attendance or attention, causatively, to tell, attentively. That's the emphasis, is attentively.
Right. It's not just hearing a thing. It's like hearing it and really soaking it in and getting it.
Right.
Right.
So this would be, we already knew the prophecy, but now we really know it.
Right. And when would that be?
After it's evident. Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
After it's evident, you really get it. Yeah.
Right. So I pray to you, swear unto me by the Lord, since I have shewed you kindness, that ye will also shew kindness unto my father's house, and give me a true token, and that ye and ye will save alive my father and my mother and my brethren and my sisters and all that they have, and deliver our lives from death. And the men answered her, Our life for yours, if ye utter not this our business. And it shall be, when the Lord hath given us the land, that we shall deal kindly and truly with thee. So they're saying, don't worry about that.
So she's got like special exception.
Right.
But wouldn't you figure she would?
I mean, is that special exception? She's showing the requisite faith. I mean, she's showing willingness to follow them.
She's given a token. She's given a free pass here.
Okay.
In fact, her and all of hers. Because she doesn't just say self, and she doesn't just say children.
Right.
She says, like, everybody I love gets exception.
And all that they have.
Yeah.
Like all the people that they have, probably.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and then she let them down by a cord through the window, for her house was upon the town wall. Oh, that's interesting. And she dwelt upon the wall.
What's that? She lives on the edge of the city.
Yeah. Right on the wall.
Uh-huh. But they didn't build houses on walls, by the way.
Yeah. What a terrible place for a house.
Right. And the best you could do with something like that is, unless the wall was thicker than the house is wide, the best you can do is some of the house is totally exposed and some of it's protected. But all of it is at risk because it's on the wall.
Right.
So that doesn't really make sense in a war scene. That doesn't really make sense. But if I say that Rahab lived at the edge of the city, even on the wall of the city, and I take that to be like a mental or spiritual situation, this would be exactly true of the kind of person God would want to be let down out of the thatch through a window by a twisted red cord to go and spy out the city. This is exactly what the Lord would want. Do you think that needs further translation? Because for me, that totally works. I think that Mary, the mother of Jesus, would have to be barely in the earth.
Right.
That if she was a really worldly person, peace and respect, Sammy. If she was a really worldly person, she wouldn't be chosen to do that job. So she's about as far out of the earth as you can get without actually leaving.
Right. So they climb down that cord on the inside side of the wall, presumably, but barely.
Just barely on the inside. Yeah.
Yeah. And well, her advice to them was, get to the mountain, lest the pursuers meet you, and hide yourselves there 3 days until the pursuers be returned, and afterwards may ye go your way.
Would you like to try a bet on the word mountain and whether or not it means hill, mountain, or looming mountain? Because I'll put money on that meaning looming mountain.
Looming mountain.
Like gigantic overhang mountain.
Let's go.
So there's the word mountain. When you go into the etymology.
Yeah.
Now I know I'm right because it's Harar.
Yeah, Harar.
There you go. A looming mountain.
Yeah.
So if we said biblically there's a looming mountain.
This is the ship.
Yeah, this is heaven. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So she says, go quickly to the looming mountain.
And hide for 3 days. Is this the death? Is this?
Yeah, that's right on. Spot on, brother.
So I'm going to be super vulnerable for a second on the stream here, just for whoever's watching. And I just want to say that that wasn't an intellectual jump. That was me following something that happened in my heart. And as we went through this text, and this is an experience I have consistently when I explore the text this way. It's a very fascinating thing, and I am not sure, but I think it might be what Richard means by prayer, or being led by prayer, but I'm very moved by that connection. The 3 days especially just gives me chills, to hide there for 3 days. And then to connect that to the pursuers being foiled through that process of hiding there. I know it probably seems like a small thing to those watching, but that was a A-bomb for me.
It's not small to me.
Right on, brother. Right on.
It's not an accident that I centered on this story out of all the walled cities. That's not an accident. Because I know this story is here.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, this stuff, I want to not say too much too quickly too often. And I want it to happen for other people like it's happening for you. I want that. Because I want it to be not my experience. I've already had my experience.
Right. Yeah.
Well, let's kill it right there then. Let's stop right there.
All right.
That
sounds good.
Okay, so in wrapping up the total idea, I almost made a heart shape there. That's interesting. Didn't mean to, but I did. Unfortunately, Sammy, our friend Steve has a bit of a sleeping and being awake problem on a regular basis and was not able to join us this episode. But that's fine. He's a compliment when he can be here, and I deeply appreciate him. And he knows that when he can't make it, we're going to love him right through it anyway. It'll be fine with us. He is well aware of that.
Totally.
Absolutely. So, moving on and wrapping up the total idea here. This, to me, is an Old Testament story that is giving detail to the book of Revelation, where when most have ascended and all that is left is people who want to fight, who won't believe that what they're seeing is God and heaven, and they've met actual angels, and will be saying things like, these are well contrived, intelligently contrived biologicals meant and specifically designed to imitate what I would think of as an angel, so as to fool me, so perhaps I can become a lunch. Okay.
Right.
Or some other idea like that. They want the gold out of my fillings. I don't know. Whatever that person might think that these beings who can cross a galaxy need from you, by itself is silly. But that's beside the point. If you can cross a galaxy, you don't need this little piddly planet. You don't need it. You got plenty of resources, so much stuff out there. Ridiculous. Go harvest it. You don't need us.
Right.
And we'd be really difficult as a food source because we tend to get angry and try to retaliate and stuff. So we're a dumb food source. If it were something just as stupid and easy and predictable as that also wouldn't make sense. So that what we're talking about here is the second half of end times, and we're talking about different points of view to guide the one who needs to complete these tasks when he's the leader of 12 captains who are each have 12,000 soldiers, or the apostles in the army of God. The apostles, what's that lower word? Apostle and
disciples.
There you go. Thanks. That's the word I was stuck on. All right.
I got you.
When he's to be the guiding commander of all of these forces. And part of the intrinsic idea that you kind of get from reading it is where I think the Jews get the idea of a warrior commander. Because that is part of what he has to do. Peace and respect. Alicia Clark, whom I don't recall seeing here before. Thank you for visiting us. And also my lovely witch, Marty Camejo.
Marty.
Who still won't admit that she's actually 32. But hey, everyone's got their hang-ups. Fine. I dye my beard. What am I going to do? Talk crap at this point? Okay, so there you have it. Any thoughts you have on wrapping it up?
No, I just think that's extraordinary. I think especially tying it to Revelations, which is really only clarified in this way, in my opinion. Like it really doesn't track in any kind of reasonable way otherwise. Revelation, that is. So I'm
going to ask you a few closing questions, just from your base knowledge of the story of Jericho.
Okay.
7 priests carry the Ark of the Covenant 7 times around the walled city and blow their trumpets, causing the wall to fall. You got enough to say what that is?
Well, it's the 7 signs. So it's all of those things. It's one after another. It's the destruction of the planet. Well, most of the destruction of the planet. It's not finalized at that point, but it makes the walls fall eventually, which is a victory. It's a victorious situation.
For us. Yeah.
Right. Yep. Works for me. That's what it is. Yeah.
Thanks for your input, Mac.
It fits like a key in a lock. It's perfect. Yeah. Thank you, Richard. I do regret that I'm not more effectively challenging for you, but I still love interacting with you. And plenty of other people are good at nipping at your heels and keeping your epistemology straight. So I'll just sit back and watch that. I love engaging with you on this level. So that's quite all right with me. Yeah.
I appreciate the chance to share what I think is true.
You
all
bet.
Right, guys. That's
pleasure.
It for tonight. I got another show coming up, so I'm cutting this one short.
Sounds good.
We're scheduled to have a very nice conversation, William Freeman and myself. So 2 atheists talking about what they think the Bible is saying. Or, I'm sorry, 2 theists talk about what they think the Bible is saying.
That's perfect. I'll definitely tune in. Got to tuck some children in first, but after that. So thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Spoil them rotten, Dad.
Definitely do. All right, bye-bye.
Until next time, guys, I want you all to know that I truly look forward to the day that we're all great friends. I really do.